Look, 99% of dropshipping stores fail within the first 3 months. Most don't even get off the ground, but those who do, they still end up failing over the next few months. And it's because they don't pay attention to these things that I'm going to cover in this video. Now, I've been in e-commerce for a really long time. I've done over $14 million in sales the past couple of years. Just to show you guys, I know what I'm talking about. Here is one of my stores, and I'm not going to show you guys the typical Shopify dashboard. I'm going to show you something even more impressive. These are some of my long-term customers, and this store has been running for over 5 years at this point. Some of my customers have spent over $4,000. You can see this person spent $5,000, $4,000, 3.9K, 3.1K, and the list literally just keeps going and going. So here are some of the main reasons why some stores fail within the first 3 months. First, there's no real product market fit, which means sure, you might have made a few sales here and there, but there might not be a wide enough market, or your product is too saturated and everyone's selling the same thing. So even if you launch your product and initially you're getting some sales, competition comes in and basically just oversaturates the market. Second, you might not have a real brand or vision behind what you're selling. A lot of times dropshippers, they'll pick a product and they might make sales, but they don't see that this could actually lead to repeat purchases and a lot of brand loyalty. So they'll kind of just sell a shitty product. They don't put their own branding on it, and they don't communicate with their customers in a way that makes their customers feel hurt. Now, this leads me to chasing trends. Now, I'm not saying chasing trends is necessarily bad, but you need to identify what a long-term trend is versus what a short-term trend is. A short-term trend is something we like to refer to as more of a fad, where it kind of comes and goes within a few months, and then nobody ever talks about it ever again. Some relevant examples, Labubu, I almost guarantee you that trend is gonna be gone in a few months' time. And so if you sell a product related to that, it's gonna basically crash and burn a few months from now. A long-term trend is something like Pilates. Girls are getting really into it. There's gonna be a bunch of communities established for it, and there's going to be a lot of resources poured into Pilates. So all these centers are popping up, and there's a real tight-knit community forming around it. Something like this will probably have a much longer shelf life than a short-term fad, as I described with Labubus. And lastly, why most stores fail is they overspend on ads before properly testing. A lot of people will try to scale their ads when they don't even have a profitable enough return on ad spend. And we'll get to that a bit later, but this is something really important to keep in mind. So you might be wondering, okay, Steven, why do I care about having a long-term brand? Well, nobody wants to build multiple businesses over and over, especially me. I've built a bunch of businesses over and over that have crashed and burned, but I've had also the pleasure of building some real legitimate brands that are still alive today and making good money. And I can almost guarantee you that feeling of having to build a new Shopify store is probably one of the worst feelings ever. It's almost always better to build one successful business, have that running for a while where you can actually work on building and compounding that business, as opposed to building a new dropshipping store every couple months and having to rinse and repeat. This is especially the case if you truly want to build an income source for yourself through dropshipping or e-commerce, and also to have complete freedom of your lifestyle. I guarantee you what I'm going to tell you in this video, the stability you're going to get from your business is going to allow you to do so much more with your life besides just working in your business. I want to start with some beginner mistakes that a lot of people get into when they're picking out their product. This is probably the most fundamental part of starting any e-commerce business, especially with dropshipping. It's picking out products, but a lot of people, they pick out bad products. So two of the biggest things I see that they make the mistake of doing is picking out a low margin product or picking out a product that is way too saturated. So you can see here, this is a flying UFO ball. It's a terrible product, even though you've seen it and it looks cool, right? The vibe that it gives is fidget spinners, right? It's just kind of like a cool little trinket. There's no real community behind it. And not only that, it has really low perceived value. If you look at a toy like this, there's no way you're going to want to pay over $20 for it. What we want to pick are products where people look at it and they can see, okay, this is probably a more premium product. I'm probably more or less going to be willing to pay a bit more money for it. This product is running off of a fad. It's not unique at all, and it's too competitive. Maybe it was unique when it was first starting out, but if you were to try to sell something like this now, your odds of success are pretty low. Next is actually another really common beginner mistake that I see is they launch a product and they don't actually have any good real ads that they're launching with. A lot of times they put no thought into who they're targeting and they just use videos that they find off of TikTok, which is fine. You can find creatives off of TikTok, but it's a good idea to always think about your target demographic and potentially even rework multiple clips together to create a cohesive ad that might address your target demographic better than what the original creative is doing. You got to make sure to keep your ad fast paced and not boring, right? So I'm going to quickly play two examples of one bad ad and one good ad so you guys can tell the difference in pacing and just storytelling as a whole.
Top 3 soaps every man over 55 has to try. 1. Pine tar. If you want women to go absolutely feral for you, you have to try this scent. It's refreshing, invigorating, and women are obsessed with how it smells.
Number 3, going all in on paid ads way too early. Now, don't get me wrong, paid ads are amazing, but when you focus too much on paid ads too early, you kind of lose touch with the other fundamentals of your business. What I mean by this is if your business doesn't have any solid content creators, it doesn't have any influencer networks, and you're just going straight into paid ads, the odds of your ads performing well are going to be much lower. I always encourage people to start with organic through influencers or creating the content yourself and having a few videos blow up first before going all in on ads. Now, this isn't to say you can't do a quick test of, $50 to $100 just to see if your existing creatives are going to perform well. But don't be discouraged if you test those ads and you don't get any great results right off the bat. A lot of times you have to constantly iterate on your existing creatives until you find something that works, and then your ads are going to start spitting out a positive return on ad spend. Next is cloning viral stores without any context. There's so much going into these other businesses on why they're successful that you might not be aware of. So instead of just seeing a store looking pretty and trying to copy it, thinking that's going to lead to the results, it's always better to really dive into their traffic and see where they're making most of their sales. Are they making their sales mostly through influencers, right? You can check that by going onto this brand's Instagram and then going to their tagged to see if there's a bunch of influencers working with them. Or are they getting traffic through Google? You can get this information with the SimilarWeb extension actually. So on any website, just click SimilarWeb and then you'll be able to see where the traffic is coming from. Once you have the context, then you can truly start to build a picture of what is creating the success for this store. A lot of times people will just copy a pretty store thinking that is what leads to the result. But a lot of times it's the opposite. The results lead to you making money, then you can use that money to invest into a prettier store. And finally, this is something that most people, especially YouTubers, they don't talk about because they probably don't even have an understanding of this either. Two metrics to really understand are your lifetime customer value and your customer acquisition cost. Your customer lifetime value is basically just how much the customer will spend over the lifetime of your business. And this can be projected out if you have at least 3 months of data. And then your cost of acquisition, or a lot of people call it CAC. This is basically just the cost to initially acquire this customer. A lot of short-term businesses, they purely rely on a one-time purchase and a really low customer acquisition cost. Now, this might work in the short term, but if you don't work on improving your customer lifetime value, your business is going to die out because your customer acquisition costs will always go up. Doesn't matter what business you're in, advertising just gets more and more competitive, especially with new competitors coming into your market. A big focus of this video is going to be showing you guys how to increase your customer lifetime value. So let's go over the mindset of what you actually need to do instead. First, I want you guys to have the mindset of thinking like a business owner and not a hustler, right? Because when you're hustling, all you want to do is just make some quick cash here and there, and you don't really care about anything long term. But if you're a business owner, you care about how you're going to create a meaningful customer experience and lifetime customers. On the left here, we have the hustler. They're super distracted by everything. They have what you call shiny object syndrome. And this is something a lot of people fall prone to, even myself, right? Whereas a business owner, you're really looking long term. You're looking at new product releases. You're looking at how you can get customers to come back over and over, right? You're not so worried that you might not have positive cash flow certain months, right? Because you know that your product might be seasonal or more money will come in because It's predictable because you've been running it for so long, and that gives you so much peace of mind. So it's not that you need to overanalyze, but you need to actually go in with a strategy when you're launching, right? You need to study your competitors, launch angles that they're not doing, and go for a niche, right? You don't want to just target every single person on this planet because that's not going to resonate. You need to really understand your customer to the level of being the customer itself or being someone who's like their best friend. This will give you a huge competitive edge when you're launching your business, and it's going to completely change the game for you. Now, I can't stress this enough, but a real brand is not built overnight. Okay. It takes systems, takes product testing, takes data, and it's very long term. You don't have to get it right the first time. You have many tries to get it properly. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Steven, you have a strategy. It sounds great and all, but you still don't know what to do. Don't worry, we're gonna go straight into the specifics right now. In terms of long-term success, we have three main pillars. First, product market fit, right? It solves a very clear problem for a specific group of people. That specific group of people is what we call a niche. We have the creative engine. This is basically all your marketing pipeline, right? You're creating ads, you're creating resources to reach your customers and push in front of their screens. This is super important to dial in because you could have amazing product, but if nobody is seeing it and you're not getting in front of the right customers, then it doesn't matter. Finally, this is the backend and retention system, right? Once you get the customer in, it's really important to have systems in to make sure that the customers come back over and over, because then you don't have to spend more money on acquiring new customers. You can just keep your existing customers happy and you have a long-term business that way. If you have these three pillars down, you basically have everything you need for a successful dropshipping store. I'm gonna go a bit more into detail for each of these pillars, and we're gonna start with product market fit. First, we wanna select a product that's in either a large niche or a quickly growing niche. A growing niche, for example, I mentioned previously, is something like Pilates, where a couple of years ago, it wasn't that big, but now it's starting to become a really big trend. So we want to look for niches like that and ride the wave. Secondly, we're looking for easy logistics. This means products that aren't too fragile or too bulky, because those are going to be expensive to ship or break easily in transit. And if you have to refund customers, well, you basically lost all your money there. Next, this is especially important if you don't know how to write really strong ads and hooks. This is to have products that have a built-in wow factor so that you can easily create viral content with it. Products with a wow factor, they can be easily demonstrated, or they produce dramatic before and after effects. We also want to look for a product that serves a deep passion or addresses some sort of pain point and is a great solution for that. Finally, this kind of ties in close to the easy logistics, but isn't always correlated. We're looking for products with a high margin. So earlier I talked about products with high perceived value, and this is exactly what I mean, right? If people are perceiving your product to be worth more money than it actually is, then you can work with super high margins and get away with advertising for a lot longer and paying a lot more for advertising as a whole. So your product should check all of these boxes, or else it's going to be really hard to make it long term. I'm going to get into some examples of good products versus bad products. Product number one here, we have a foam yoga roller. This product is way too competitive, right? If you can walk into Walmart and find this product, it's probably too saturated. There are thousands of people on Amazon, in retail stores, in fitness stores, basically anywhere you go that you can find a product like this. It's not unique and it has no wow factor. Not only that, the perceived value of this product is also not very high. Like, people aren't really willing to pay that much for just a foam roller. That's kind of obvious. Every beginner probably should know that this is not a good product to sell. I'm gonna go over a little bit of a less obvious product. So this is product number two, right? It's a pet lint remover, and it's like a little glove that you can use and just wipe the fur off. It has a little bit of a wow factor because you can demonstrate it coming off right away. There's a niche, right? It's for pet owners and they're quite passionate. It has a proof of concept because this video went viral. So it must be a good product, right? Well, not exactly. Maybe it could have worked back in 2018. Maybe even right now for a little bit, it could work. But the point is, this product would die really quickly. What is the reason for that? Well, first, it's really hard to sell this product as a recurring product, right? People are going to buy this one time and probably never need to buy a second one. Secondly, low margins again, right? The perceived value for a lint remover, there's so many other alternatives for this product that are probably arguably cheaper, and people just aren't willing to pay too much for it. And finally, there's not really any sort of loyalty towards the product, and people really have no reason to go and buy your other products. So what is our goal? Our goal is to create a cult-like audience of buyers. We need to sell a product that's really unique, also cater our language to our buyers in a way that really resonates with them. A prime example of this is Scrub Daddy. If you just hop over to the Scrub Daddy TikTok, you can see a clear, distinct brand aesthetic, right? They use a lot of these yellows. And not only that, there is a very distinct brand vibe. They are very fun. They're always following trends, right? And they've created a cult-like following because people love what Scrub Daddy stands for. They're making cleaning fun and accessible for everybody. Now, if we head over to the Scrub Daddy website, we can see that although they just started out with a Scrub Daddy sponge, now they're selling a bunch of other things that are all cleaning related, right? They have a barbecue grill cleaner. They have an all-purpose cream cleanser. They have all sorts of cleaning products. And because they've done their branding so well, people are likely to have positive feelings associated with the brand, and they're going to choose this brand over another brand just because of the fact that they have this positive feeling associated with Scrub Daddy. Now, a product like Scrub Daddy Sponge is really hard to get off the ground in 2025 direct to consumer because the price is so low. Typically, we want to look for products $50 and above to sell if we're going to run any sort of ads on it. The reason they were able to get viral and really start selling is because they went the organic route first, and they focused on just getting as many eyes on their product as possible. The great thing about organic is it's completely free, so you're not spending a fixed amount to acquire each customer. Now I want to talk about a potential good product. The product I'm showing here are anime earrings. Why this is good is because it serves a very, very passionate niche and it has a high perceived value. Obviously, if we go on AliExpress, you're going to see that it's being sold for pretty cheap, but we all know that people pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for jewelry. So the value of this product is really how you make it perceived. So if you have a really nice website and you sell this product, you could probably get away with selling it for a lot more. Now, obviously, Demon Slayer isn't as relevant anymore, but you kind of get the gist, right? Now, this is actually a product that I personally sold myself, and I saw this doing really well because back in the day, Demon Slayer was a growing anime and there was a cult-like following behind it. So when I sold something related to this niche, people were super happy to jump on because nobody else was really selling something like this. Now, this product might not necessarily work today, but I'm just showing you guys as an example. So why is this a potential good product? First, I'm identifying this as a super niche. So it's kind of like that intersection between two large interests. So on the left here, we have anime lovers. This is a massive niche in itself. And then on the right, we have jewelry lovers. A lot of people wear jewelry. So this intersection right here creates a really unique blend where people who love fashion can also show off their favorite anime. Super niches are the key to finding cult-like buyers. And a cult-like fan base is the key to having a super crazy long-term successful business. Typically what happens is your store starts to get some sales, you're super excited, then after a week, maybe a few weeks, or even a month or two, the sales just completely die out. So what happened? Why do 99% of stores die here? Look, you're not trying to find winning products per se, you're trying to find a winning brand and a winning audience. So if you find a winning audience, you can sell just about anything to that audience. Successful stores, they build product ecosystems with their main product and accessories. They create bundles that increase average order value and also sell tangentially related products. So if we go back to Scrub Daddy, right, this was their original product, but now they're selling all sorts of others that their customers are also likely to buy. This is super important to increasing your customer lifetime value because if you have nothing else to offer except for that one product on your store, why the hell would people come back? Now, I want to go over another example. This is an exception, right? This brand called Grunz, they sell a AG1 alternative as a gummy. And they are a one product store, but why it works is because it's a recurring product. Supplements are one of those things where people take it, if they like it, they're gonna keep coming back and buying more and more and more. So this can create an insane compound effect on each new customer that you acquire. We can see here that they're selling their subscription for $47.99 per month. And this is just going to keep auto charging until they cancel their subscription. So realistically, you have two options, right? You can go the Scrub Daddy route or you can go the Grunz Gummies route. But regardless, you need to have some sort of recurring customer strategy. Here's the second mistake. Most dropshipping stores, they start on Facebook and they die on Facebook. Facebook ad costs are actually absurdly high sometimes. And no matter what business you have, Facebook ads will always get more and more expensive. To expect that you can run sustainably at scale on Facebook for a really long time is just unrealistic. At some point, whether it be 3 months, a year, 3 years, your Facebook ads are going to fatigue. Not only that, it's really easy to get your Facebook ad account banned and something wrong to happen, especially if you're dropshipping. Problem is, if 100% of your traffic comes from paid ads or just a single source in general, like comparing a pole to a tripod. So you can see the pole is pretty unstable, right? If you knock it over, it's knocked over. A tripod, it has multiple pillars to keep it up. And this is the way that you should view your business, right? Each profitable traffic source that you add to your business is another pillar that's gonna keep the foundation of your business strong. If you're only relying on Facebook, you just have one big fat pole that could collapse any day. Now, obviously, you're not gonna start with multiple channels. Typically, you're gonna find one channel that works really well, but your goal from that point forward is to find other channels that will sustain your business for the long run. Something like this would have a much better chance. So you can see here, yes, we have a big portion from paid ads, but then we also have another large portion from organic social. We have SEO content also driving some traffic, and we have email marketing, which is your retention system, keeping people coming back over and over. Now, obviously, your stats don't need to look exactly like this, but the point is to have diversified traffic sources. Paid ads, obviously, which is Facebook ads, TikTok ads, etc. We have organic, which can be word of mouth, it can be influencers, it can be your own page. But as long as you're able to get customers without spending very much money, this is an extremely powerful traffic source. And then we have email marketing. This is how you're going to reach your existing customers and get them to buy over and over again. Quite a few of my brands these days rely solely on email marketing. That's how powerful it is. And finally, we have SEO, or now we have ChatGPT optimization as well. I'm going to leave SEO for another video because it's quite a complicated process, but all you need to know is if you can get discovered easily on Google, you're going to have no problems with having consistent customers. Now, these are just 4 of the pillars that I decided to mention in this video. There's a ton more, and I can create a whole dedicated video just going over those. So leave a comment down below if you want me to do that. Let's assume you have these 4 pillars either in the works or mastered, right? You're going to want to scale up your business. The main platforms for it are Instagram, Facebook, TikTok ads, and Google ads. Facebook and Instagram is really good for broad products, right? Products that serve a really big niche. And not only that, you can target a ton of different audiences with Facebook and Instagram. You can target older demographics, younger, basically any person in the world is on Facebook. So this platform is great for scaling. TikTok is similar, but it typically caters to a slightly younger or trendier demographic. Google Ads, it's great for products that solve problems because you can target specific queries that are talking about certain problems. For example, if someone has foot fungus, it's a weird example, I don't know why I thought of that, but they're gonna search up how to cure foot fungus, right? And you can run an ad directly targeting that problem. So the whole idea is you're going to pick one of these platforms, whichever one you think is most likely to have your desired audience. And in the first week, we're going to test 5 different audiences, and we're going to just create a total of 10 creatives for each audience. In terms of your budget, I typically go for 2.5 times your product price. So if I'm selling something for $50, I would probably want to run it for at least $125. Now, we're going to visit our ads in our second week or after a few days of testing, and we're going to scale the winning creatives and we're going to kill the losers. Now, if you don't have any winning creatives, what we're going to do is analyze which audience had the best results, and we're going to double down on those and also create a few more audiences. If everything's a loser, go back to step 1 and test all over again. And then week 3 and afterwards, you're just going to keep testing new angles for those audiences or keep testing new audiences as a whole. Then you can rinse and repeat this process with every single new platform, whether it be TikTok ads, Facebook ads, Pinterest. Like there's so many different platforms for advertising. The most effective is Instagram and Facebook. You want to see at least a 2.5 times return on ad spend, typically for most products. This is assuming that your gross profit margin is over 80%. If it's less than 80%, you're going to need a return on ad spend that's even higher than 2.5. Now, your cost per acquisition should be less than 40% of your average order value. Let's say a customer typically pays about $100 per order, right? you don't want to spend over $40 to acquire that customer. As for a click-through rate, anything above a 2% is pretty good. If it's under just by slightly, that's not a huge deal because this metric can always change depending on the niche. And CPM, it will vary. The more competitive of a niche you're in, the higher it will be. The main metric that we want to see is that your return on ad spend is positive. But remember, this is the golden rule. Don't rely too heavily on paid ads. Paid ads, great for scaling up your business, but it's not the key to running a long-term business. Okay, I'm gonna quickly talk about organic social because this is something that's really important, and I've talked about ads a lot in my past videos, but I haven't really dived into organic social. For organic social, I want you guys to use the 3-3-3 strategy. You wanna make 3 high quality posts a day on 3 different platforms. It could be, for example, you make the content for TikTok and then you repost it on Instagram, right? You don't have to make unique content for each one. And the 3 types of posts, you want to try different formats. You don't want to just try the same content type over and over, because if you're not getting the results, then obviously you need to try something different. So in terms of platform priority, we want to start with TikTok because it's typically the easiest to go viral with TikTok. And these days, Instagram Reels is catching up. So it's really easy to repurpose your TikToks and just repost it onto Instagram. And then finally, you can repost this also onto YouTube Shorts, which actually has the longest shelf life in terms of traffic that will come into your store. But it's not a huge priority because YouTube Shorts typically doesn't convert as well. Here are a few content types that really convert. First, we have behind the scenes type of content that shows the personality of whoever is running the brand. So that would be you, right? Customer transformations. People want to see clear, visible results. They want to see how their lives can change. And if you can show your customers with real transformations, that's great. Educational content, this is great for just creating awareness of your product, not as much for converting. Although people might not buy right off the bat with educational content, it's going to get them interested in your brand and get them to follow your profile where they can watch the other types of content and then convert into buying your product. And finally, we have trends, right? Trending audio plus footage of your product. Sometimes you might just get viral with it. And if you do go viral, a lot of people are going to follow you. They're going to watch your other types of content and eventually head over to your website and purchase. I'd rather show you guys rather than tell. So let me just show you an example of each type of content. We can see here, this is a behind the scenes video.
I need to publicly apologize to anyone who's ever bought gum from my videos because I lied. Yes, it's true that our gum is antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal.
Now we have a customer transformation. This is a very easy one. You can see clear before and after. Educational content right here. And then finally, we have the trending audio plus your product. It's basically just like falling onto a trend.
This is the story of a girl named Rapunzel.
Finally, so you've gotten customers into your business. This is where the real money is made. Your email marketing is your ATM machine. Okay, emails are almost always overlooked because people don't understand how to properly do emails. I've been doing emails for years and years and they've never failed me. Okay, when I talk about emails, I'm talking about using a platform like Klaviyo and sending emails like this, right? Keep your eyes open. We're launching something new. Or, if you're releasing a new product, send them something to give them early access. Or, just send them a promotion email. People do read their emails, surprisingly. And I'm sure you even read an email from a brand that you like. If you need inspiration for email designs and good email flows, just go to mild.com and you're going to get a ton of inspo. Now, if you already run a brand that's doing 6 figures a month and you need better emails, you can hit the link below to work with my team. We've done millions of dollars through emails alone, and I probably have one of the best email marketing teams. And as a special, because you've watched this far, I'm going to give you a special rate. So hit the link down below if you want really good emails for your brand. Here is why email is really important. With abandoned carts, you can recover anywhere between 15 to 20% of your lost sales. The welcome series, this is probably most of your email revenue. And basically what it is when someone signs up for your email newsletter or they get added to this flow because they've abandoned a cart, you're going to end up sending them a bunch of different promotions and offers to get them to purchase. And finally, we have the post-purchase email flow as well. This really increases the lifetime value of your customers because you're now selling them other products that are related. And the post-purchase flow is really where you can start to build a lot of trust with your customers. And this is where you really start developing a relationship with your customers. Okay, for SEO, this is gonna be really simple. I'm just gonna give you guys some quick wins that you can do right now to start increasing your SEO visibility. The first thing is to optimize your product titles. You need to include things in your title that people are actually searching for. You can find what people are searching for using the Google Keyword Planner. It's a really easy to use nifty tool to see what people are actually searching in your niche. You want to add a FAQ section to your website, right? You can see here on Grun's website, they have a really quick FAQ section. This just really allows us to fill in some content, and maybe some of these keywords will also get picked up. And then finally, you can create 10 blog posts just talking about product reviews for your specific product. And that's another great way to get some traffic into your site. For what you should write in your content, you can do things like best product for a specific need, as an example, or how to solve XYZ problem. And the last one is sort of a comparison. So it would be your product versus competitor product. So in the context of the content, I'll use Grun as an example. And you can see here, the first type of content would be best product for a specific need. So here for Grun, they could make an article saying best supplement for nutrition gaps, right? Something like that. Obviously, that's kind of niche, but you want to find a keyword that is broad and widely searched. For the second type, how to solve a specific customer problem. So, for example, if they say they can help with bloating, then you could do how to solve bloating, right? And then the article would be talking about how to solve bloating, but then you can link your product at the bottom of your blog. And then finally, this one's really simple. It's a comparison. So runs versus AG1. Super simple, and it's going to get people in there. A lot of people, they make the mistake of compromising on their price and racing to the bottom with all of the other Chinese suppliers, right? Amazon, they can always ship faster than you. So what is your moat, right? What is your moat for your business to prevent these other competitors from coming in and taking over? Well, first and foremost, and I'm gonna go back to Scrub Daddy because they do it so well, you need to create a community, right? Either you can infiltrate an existing community or you can create one like Scrub Daddy. Scrub Daddy, they've created a community of people who love humor and people who like to make cleaning fun, right? So that's their community. You can see their official slogan is clean anything with a smile. So people, they follow Scrub Daddy not just because they like cleaning supplies. That's boring. They like Scrub Daddy because their videos are genuinely funny and people in the comments are creating inside jokes, and there's a real sense of community in here. If you don't have the skills to do what Scrub Daddy does, which I'm sure a lot of people will struggle with this, you can infiltrate an existing community on the internet. Just go on Reddit and look for a big community. An example of this is r/sneakers, right? You can go in here and learn what they like, learn how they speak, and sell a product that speaks to this community, right? You want to look for communities that have at least 1 million people in them, because if it's too small, it's probably not a big enough business for you to run. Secondly, you want to start developing custom packaging. In 2025, it's really easy to work with suppliers and get custom packaging. If you guys need help with that, just click the link in the description and you can work with my private supplier and they can take care of all your custom packaging needs. Next, you're going to create exclusive variations and colors/designs that you only have, right? So the hoodie does a really great job of this. Originally, they started with just a plain hoodie like this, right? But they started adding prints to it. They started doing collaborations with, K-pop and different communities that they're infiltrating. And by doing this, they're creating a ton of loyalty because they're tapping into existing communities. If you are having trouble creating your own custom product, click the link below for my private supplier. Next, you want to create a strong brand voice, right? Going back to the Scrub Daddy example, these guys are really Gen Z friendly. So they're really catering to this specific demographic. You can see they're not using super proper grammar. They're talking the same way that their customers would. You can see that people are really engaging with Scrub Daddy because they get their audience. And you need to develop your brand voice to match who your audience is. Not only that, you can think about brand collaborations that you could do with other related brands or influencers, figures in your space. We can see a big collaboration that Scrub Daddy does is with Duolingo. These are two big powerhouses in the Gen Z ecosystem. And so to collaborate with them, it just builds even more brand loyalty. And finally, you want a brand story that fans can really easily relate to. Going back to the origin of Scrub Daddy, their whole idea was to make cleaning fun because cleaning sucks for 99% of people. This is something that's really relatable. And just because of that, people will choose your brand. And the more relatable it is, the more likely customers are going to choose your brand over all the other competitors. Okay, I know I went over a lot, you guys, and that's probably just the beginning of it, but I really hope this video as a whole gave you guys a pretty comprehensive view of what it actually takes to run a long-term successful business. If you guys still want to learn a bit more, I have a very thorough in-depth course that's completely for free going through the rest of what I'm talking about. All you have to do is click the link in the description and you can get access. With that being said, if you guys want more one-on-one guidance and to be able to talk to me directly, I encourage you to apply for my mentorship program where I'll actually get on a call with you on a weekly basis and help you grow and scale your business. Now, this program is selective, but I still really encourage you to apply because it could really change the course of your business. So if you're interested, click the link below and book a interview call with my team. With all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like down below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'll see you guys on the next one.